Welcome to the 19.9 podcast. I'm Aaron Meyer. My co-host is Josh Barnett, one of the owners of 19.9. As a duo, we are the High Volume Shooters, or HVS. You can find our blog under HVS on the 19.9 website, along with retro college apparel connected to the storied history of some of the most memorable college teams of all time. Let's get started with Fish. What's going on, Josh?
What's up, sir?
Last time we were talking playground stories, and I wanted you to just recap for the people your little story, and more importantly, tell us how you met Magic, the man, the myth, the legend, the one who confirmed your crazy story.
Yeah, so I teased it in our intro blog or our intro pod that I was going to try to find somebody to verify the story. And between then and now, I just happened to order a pizza and some wings from a bar down the street from where I live. And we were a little bit early coming into it. And I knew I was telling the bow and arrow story. And I don't know a ton of people that were there. Because like I said, me and Wes were the only two young people there. And Wes is unfortunately not with us anymore. And so I told you I would try to find somebody that could verify the story or somebody that was there, or maybe even somebody that heard about it. And so we ordered wings and pizza, and my wife took me down there on the way back from one of our kids' soccer games. And I told her that it wasn't going to be ready because they told me 35 minutes, but she didn't care. So she dropped me off, and I went in there, and they said, hey, we just threw the pizza in the oven. So I sat at the bar, and I felt somebody kind of looking at me. So I turned, and I looked to my left, and it was the Magic Man there. And so he's like, hey, I thought that was you, Barnett. And so we start talking, and then all of a sudden this podcast popped in my head, and I'm like, yo, Magic, like, could you please do me a favor? I said, were you up there for the bow and arrow when Chuck pulled a bow and arrow on somebody? And he was like, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. And I said, will you please let me video you and tell that story so I have backup for this? And I was like, do you mind? And he was like, no, not at all. So I'm going to let Magic take it away. Magic from Gulfmore, and we were talking about the bow and arrow incident. What happened, Magic?
Well, Kurt and Charlie got into it. I think Kurt bitch slapped Charlie. Charlie went over to his truck and said, "You're a big dude. I got this bow and arrow and I'm gonna shoot you with it." Went over, got his bow and arrow, and pulled it out. And then everybody started walking up towards Charlie to keep it from escalating.
Magic, you're a good man, my brother. So you heard it there from the Magic Man. If you guys want to check out that first pod that we did on the playground stories, we got it linked and we got it up, and go back and check that out to hear the full story, my side of things on that too. I don't think I told it better than Magic, but there might have been a few more details thrown in there because we had to shoot him real quick and get out of there. So
I really wish you would have gone up to him and asked him if he wanted to be on a podcast just to see his reaction on that too.
Well, listen, man, I'm going to see Magic again. I see that dude walking around from time to time. If we need to get the Magic Man on there, any of the Gulfmore dudes on this thing, I would love to have a Gulfmore reunion on this. Love to have that.
Next summer, we're planning an old man hoops game at Gulfmore.
Oh, my God. Can't wait. I'll start training tomorrow. So last time on the Playground Stories part 1 of it, I feel like I talked the majority of the time, and I apologize for doing that. But I was telling the story. But I want to hear some of your stories too. Like, give me your playground stories. Where you grew up, where you played at the most, what the games were like, anything crazy happened. I want all the details.
Oh man, the thing that I'm jealous of you is that you have this one central place. And I know it's not the Rucker or anything, but it's your rucker. I think that's cool. And I don't know that I have that, but I had a lot of experiences playing pickup ball all over the country and really all over the world. And I know we're going to talk later about like just pickup ball in gyms, but there's definitely, for me, I think you hit on it a little bit last time, that kids miss out on it when they go to other places or even different parts of the city, like meeting different people and playing hoop with different people, because that's just a way to connect. And I know you can get maybe some of that through AAU, but there is like a demographic difference when you're playing hoop outside and an age difference. And I think that interaction is invaluable. So I think like one of the coolest and a relevant story is we went out actually on a mission trip to South Dakota and played pickup hoops outside on the Indian reservation there, and it was incredible, man. These guys would come out every night, and you could tell that they were as excited to have us in town as we were to be playing basketball at night. And there is a show on Netflix right now called Basketball or Nothing. It gives you kind of a glimpse into life out there. It's pretty well done and just talks about the style of play. So it's a super run and gun style of basketball that they play. And we ate it up. Like, that was right in our wheelhouse. As a high volume shooter, nothing would excite you more than the purpose of the pickup game to run as fast as much as you can and shoot as much as you can.
Give me the setting of a pickup playground court on a Indian reservation in South Dakota.
Right. It just was. So there's two different versions of it. So we did play in the gym a couple of the nights later in the week. So it grew as the week went on. And I mean, these were legit games because the buddies that went with me, my dad was a pastor. So the guys that went with me were legit basketball players. Two of them were 4-year starters and went on to play college at different NAIA colleges. So these guys were good. One guy's 6'6", the other guy's 6'4", and then it was me and another guard about 6 foot. And the Indians that were playing, not the same height, but just the style difference was incredible. So we started out the week outside and just the players out there playing. And by the end of the week, we were in the gym with like a small crowd watching the games.
That's awesome.
And it was awesome, man. It was just the cultural exchange that you get. And that has been a basketball truism for me. If I connect with people anywhere in the world, it can be over basketball. And I think that's what I loved about being able to do that. And it wasn't just in South Dakota. We went on different trips too to West Virginia and sort of had a similar situation there. And just wherever I went in the world, there was always basketball and pickup hoops, and finding it outside, just a court where people were playing is just incredible to walk up and know that you don't even need to speak the language or know what the heck's going on. If you can put the ball in the hoop, you're going to be just fine. They're going to accept you.
Let me ask you a question, since you said that you kind of traveled all over the place, and that's completely foreign to me because of golf more and my affinity for that place, and just it being the neighborhood place. I tell my wife like weekly, listen, remember, if something happens to me, cremate me, spread me at Golfmore. Period. End of discussion. Game over. That's where I'm the happiest. That's where I've always been the happiest. Simpler times of life. That was it. That's my happiest thing. You at least spread half of me there. Do whatever you want with the other half. I don't care. I'm dead. But a question I had from listening to your stories is, could you tell a difference in the style of play from court to court and state to state and playing around different places, or was it pretty much same type of style everywhere across the country?
Oh no, man, it's different everywhere, and I think you have to get used to it and adjust to your thinking. One of the first places we played, in high school was going down to Florida, and I remember going to a court there, and the people wanted to play zone defense in an outdoor pickup game.
You play zone defense and pickup ball?
Yeah,
come on.
Too. We were looking at them like they were crazy. We're like, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to be able to do that.
You know, that's funny because we went. I think I was in 8th grade, and we were down in Florida. And all I wanted to do was play ball. You know, everybody else was at the beach and wanted to do that stuff. And my sister and her friends were in high school, and they met some dudes down there. And they were in high school, too, that thought that they were like hoopers. And I can't remember where they were from, but we had to drive like 10 miles away from the condos to find like an open playground basketball hoop.
Nice.
And I would go, my dad would take me down there for a couple hours a day to shoot on it and all that stuff. But those dudes came down there with us one time, and I just lit their asses up, and it felt so good. Because, you know, that's what we take pride in Indiana is beating people's asses at basketball and being better than them. But it was just it was what my point, I guess, of that story was. Well, first to brag a little bit still, but then the second part was to say that you wouldn't have to walk 10 seconds in the state of Indiana to find an open basketball court. But in Florida, we were searching high and low trying to find an open court that I could just go and get daily workouts and shots up and stuff. It's just, you know, SEC country, man. Football.
Yeah, no doubt. That's football down there. I think going all over the country, there's no doubt that the top players are probably, you know, just as good in every other state. But I have a hard time believing from what I've seen that top to bottom, Indiana isn't the best. Like the worst guys in Indiana have more basketball knowledge, and I'm sure we'll hear from some people that may argue with us, but I don't know. I played pickup ball all over the place, and if I'm bringing 5 Indiana guys with me to another state, I'm feeling all right about it.
Well, you know who you just pissed off?
A lot of people, I'm sure.
All New Yorkers. You know where 99 has a strong customer base?
We need to set it up
New
then.
York,
Let's do
buddy.
it. Let's get that 5-on-5.
What's that?
Let's pick the outdoor court. We're ready to go, right?
I'm not ready to go at all.
Oh, yeah. Well, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do that. You know, I've always the two cities that are the two states that have always stuck out to me. I was going to say New York City, but Indiana as a state versus New York as a state. It's always been, and I know that we're forgetting some, and we'll get some pushback from wherever. There's good basketball everywhere, but I'm biased like you with the Indiana stuff. But if there was ever a rival to Indiana and their love for basketball and stuff, I've always felt like New York was it. So it would be fun to set something up like that. And I wanted Slam. Slam did that whole New York issue. I can't remember. Was that like a year ago or something? And it was just all about like the courts and the players and the legends and all that stuff. And I really, really would love to see Slam put together something with Indiana too, because Indiana's been sneaky good as far as, I mean, they're known as the basketball state, obviously, in high school hoops, and we can talk one class and all that crap at another time if we will. But we've been sneaky good at putting some pretty stellar pros in the NBA for a long time now. So I'd love to see an issue like that.
Yeah, and I think you're talking maybe more about New York City. I mean, you got to think of the rest of the state of New York. Like, what's the hoop like in Albany? You know, I don't know. Right,
but like New York City is like the state of Indiana. It's like its population like compares.
All right.
But I didn't know how to say like we're comparing a state to a city, so I just said state to state.
Yeah. I got you. So you got another story? I'm gonna throw it back to you. See if you got another one.
Oh man, I got too many. Let me talk about Howell Park. Can I talk about Howell Park for a minute?
Yeah. Switch to another park. I love it.
All right, so Howell Park had one light, like this big ass floodlight that hung on a light pole that faced towards the park and the court, and so it only hit one goal. But that was Gulfmore didn't have lights, so if you wanted to play ball at night, you had to go to Howell. And I think Iglehart had had lights, and maybe Wesselman's too, but I never remember going at night to play at Wesselman's. We played at night at Eaglehart, which was on another side of town from time to time, with my buddy Birdsall. And then, but we would go to Howell quite a bit because Howell's on the west side too, not too far from Goffmore. But we were down there during the day. So you only went down to Howell for 2 reasons. Well, maybe 3, because I told that Howell story where Wes and I were kicking the ball full court and turning it into a big-ass tennis ball, basically. And then you went down there to dunk because the goal that the light was on was a little bit shorter. So it was maybe like 9'8", not 10 foot. And so everybody would go down there to try to get dunks in. Or you went down there at night because it was the only place with lights on the west side, and you would play one-on-one. Wes and I did that all the time. We would leave parties. We'd be at parties and be like, hey, man, you want to go down to Howell? I'm like, yeah. Yeah. It was like you would like rip off your clothes and have basketball clothes underneath the stuff that you were wearing.
Always.
Like, it was insane. So I that's a story for another day, but Wes always had on the Villanova Nike shorts or the Arizona Nike shorts under his jeans and stuff. Like we were ready to play ball at like a moment's notice. Like,
well, the jeans were a little baggier then too, so maybe you could do that.
That's true. We're not gonna pull up any of those pics from the archives. But so anyways, we go to Howell, and this is me and Brivogel. So my buddy Matt Brivogel, we'll get on this pod at some point because he does all the designs for us now. I think it'd be fun to do a podcast talking to him about some of the inspiration and stuff behind the designs and how much he gets annoyed with me with blowing him up daily. Like, hey, we need to work on this, or hey, I just loaded this stuff up, or look at this, we just got approved for this. So I always blow Matt up. But anyways, Matt wasn't really a basketball player, but he would play with us. And so we're like, one day is during summer, we're bored as hell. So we're like, oh, let's just go down to Howell, we'll just dunk for a little bit. And so we're down there, and we are down there, and it's middle of the day. It's hot as hell. And we're out down there for 45 minutes, and we cannot get a dunk to go down. Cannot dunk. Can't do it. So our hands are just ripped. You know how your hands just get ripped to thread by, like, hitting the net and grabbing on the net or grabbing the rim and slipping off. And so we got calluses and all this stuff. And so we're about to give up, and it's hot. We're sweaty as hell. And then 2 dudes show up. Don't remember who the second one was, but this other dude's name, this dude we call Bud Boy. I have no idea what his real name is. He went to high school with us, just one of them kind of like stoner ass dudes that would hang
Bud
around.
Boy, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. So he would get. He was probably about 6'2" or whatever. So they come up and they're like, "Hey, y'all, you guys want to play 2-on-2?" And we're like, not really, but what are you gonna do? We're like, okay, we'll play a game or 2 or whatever. So we shoot the ball, we get the ball, we make the shot, we get the ball. First play, Bravo takes it out up top of the key, passes it to me on the wing, and so I kind of posted this guy up or shielded him off, and Bravo passes it, and as soon as it touches my hand, he back cuts. And so without hesitation, I just throw it over my shoulder, a lob to the rim, to his back cut. Well, Bud Boy catches up to him at the rim, but Brivogel just elevates over him, grabs this shit with 2 hands. Bud Boy is jumping with him. Goes right over his fingertips. Brivogel catches it, cocks this thing back, and just murders an alley-oop on this dude. Like, murders it. 2-hand, swinging, nuts in his face, kills him. Wow. And those dudes are like, God, dog, like, who are these dudes? And me and Bravo are looking at each other like they have no idea that's the first dunk we've made in an hour.
Incredible, man.
So we always refer to it as the play now. Like, we're old and have kids and couldn't do that now, but we always mess around. We'll see each other and be like, hey, you remember when you dunked on Bud Boy?
Oh, my God. No doubt.
That's my
you still remember the alley-oop you threw. What do you mean? Of course he remembers the dunk.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, the dunk doesn't happen without the pass. It's one of the few times I passed the whole game.
Oh, no doubt.
I computer, baby.
I worked a summer camp in Maine, and that story made me think of this. There was a guy that his name was Gary, and I'm blanking on his last name. I'll have to look it up. But he played at Elon. and we're the camp counselors. And this guy is, of course, D1 college player. And the first time we'd play the different camps. And this guy was so much fun to play with because he was crazy athletic. I'd never had anybody like this that I could actually just like throw alley-oops to. Yeah. And I remember the first time I just tried it, and he just went up and got it. And it was like, I don't even know, the first time you take a sip of beer or something. It was crazy.
Yep, I know. It's funny because playing AAU ball too in the summers, we would play with guys that would dunk that weren't from our school, and we didn't have anybody at our school that really like dunk, and definitely nobody that could like catch oops and kill one on somebody. But we did have them dudes in AAU. But the only time they would get oops were from the dudes that were on their team, their school teams too, throwing it to them because they were used to it. So the rest of us would hit them with like a bounce pass in traffic.
Right.
These other guys, the guards that they normally play with. It was just style of play. We weren't even looking for that pass. Wasn't even in our repertoire because we didn't even think it never even crossed our minds to throw it up towards the rim for somebody. But now the game's changed insane. I mean, all these kids dunk now. It's nuts.
I know. LeBron's son was dunking in like 8th grade or something like that.
They all do. Like, all they do is, like, get an app on their phone or some shit and learn how to dunk. We need to download that app, man.
So I got to know, what do you think of the summer runs that are, like, on Instagram? Because I think I've got one more story that I got to jump in with that I think I might have been there for when that stuff started. But I first want to see what you think of the summer runs in general.
I don't think you want to know what I think of them things.
I do. They're pickup basketball, right?
That ain't pickup basketball, man.
Why not?
Man, dude, that's workout basketball. There's a big difference. So, like, Jerry Sloan and those dudes used to come down to Evansville in the off season from ABA and NBA, their NBA days. And they were just there to get a workout. So they're running up and down the court. They're taking every shot. They're doing that stuff. They're just trying to stay in shape. That's all those games are. But yeah. I'm interested to hear your take because I think it's probably going to be different than mine.
Oh, I love it. I mean, I just think
I knew you would love that.
Man, I love the interaction. Before we got on, I was watching videos from Team USA playing one-on-one. It was like Jaylen Brown and Harrison Barnes just playing one-on-one against each other. I'd probably watch that.
I like those clips because one-on-one in a practice thing, and that's kind of fun. I thought you were talking about like Hoodie Mello out there playing against.
Oh, I see. Where he hits every shot.
Different thought of what you're talking about. I love those one-on-one. That to me is more of like drill settings.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a one-on-one cutthroat drill. You score, you stay, you get a stop, you stay type thing. Like, I love that. Don't get me wrong. I love that stuff. And I think that can get super competitive. I was just talking about those open runs at some of those workout gyms and stuff that those guys post.
Oh, no, I love those too.
The talent's insane there. Don't get me wrong on that either. But the play, no thanks.
You'd get out there, though, right?
If those dudes asked me to play, absolutely. I'd be out there I would just be out there like hugging them. Like trying to get high fives, get on, trying to get some video for this pod and for our social media.
Exactly.
Here's me hugging Melo. Here's me hugging LeBron.
Here's me getting dunked on by Melo.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly.
Okay, so I got to tell you where I'm just gonna say that this is where all that started. It's probably wrong, but whatever.
No, we're gonna go with it.
First, I got to ask you, what do you know about Gary, Indiana?
Gary, I had a couple players on my indie teams from Gary that were some ballers. Mm-hmm. That and my main man, Glenn Miller, who used to be an assistant principal at a school I taught with, and he was a great man. He was the assistant coach on that Gary Roosevelt. Nice. Glenn Big Dog Robinson.
Okay, I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing it back to that. So.
Yep, absolutely. And I taught with some teachers that were from Gary, some of the greatest people I've ever met. I love them all. So that's all. That's my Gary knowledge.
I love it. So unfortunately, I didn't get to play in this game, but I tagged along, and it was incredible. So one of my best friends in high school who still coaches in Indiana at Indiana Wesleyan, he was Indiana All-Star, played at Valpo for 4 years. So he gets invited to this summer run in Gary, and it's Glenn Big Dog Robinson inviting players from the area to play pickup hoops over at one of the high school gyms. So he asked me if I'd ride along with him, because Gary also not one of the safest cities in the country.
Yeah, especially back then.
Yeah, and it was, oh man, it was so much fun. I was sitting on the sidelines and I wanted in the game so bad. It was just one of those games where you couldn't ask to go get on the court. I don't know if I even belonged on there, but I wanted on there so
you
bad.
wanted to test it though. You had to test
Oh man, it was. You just feel like watching that you could at least run up and down and not look like a complete fool as a decent high school basketball player. But I wonder if that was like the start of summer runs, or if it started way earlier than that. But he kind of organized it and somehow got a message out to guys from all over like Northwest Indiana, because we were 45 minutes from Gary, right, and no real connection to Glenn Robinson except that he was on an AAU team with some guys that knew him, and I think that was that there was some kind of connection there.
No, I referenced that Jerry Sloan thing because my dad would always tell me that story, because he would go and play in those pickup games with Sloan out at the Armory in Evansville when he would be in the off season. And there was a couple guys when he was playing for the Bulls. And so there was a couple guys. So those dudes all had to stay in shape. What's crazy is those guys back in that era had summer jobs that they worked, to up their pay and livelihood and stuff. So a little bit different era, but I think throughout the course of time, they've been trying to stay in shape in the off season and stuff, and all that stuff. You mentioned Indiana Wesleyan. I got one Indiana Wesleyan story. I was getting recruited by them out of high school, and I'll try to find it. If I find it, I'll post it on our blog, our HVS blog on 99.com. But the coach wrote me a letter, but he wrote it in magic marker. And I thought that was the funniest thing ever. Like, I still think that's hilarious to me for some reason. Like, the dude was like, shit, I got to get these letters out. Like, oh, goddamn, all I got is a red marker. Like, oh, well, hell with it. It'll do. Like, just like scribbling it out. I'll look for that when we get done here. I'll see if I can find it. I'll throw it up there.
So that happened to you today, right, man? You didn't have a pen.
I know, man. I got it right here. I got it in my hand right now. That thing is not going to school with me tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, well, man, we're about at the limit again. But I'm gonna throw it to you if you've got any other things you want to tease out for 99, and then tell people where to look for the social medias.
Yeah, just follow us. Like I said in the last one, follow us on Instagram. Instagram is probably where we're the most active. And in Twitter too. Instagram is at 19919NINE. And then our Twitter is at 199_threads. And we got some stuff coming out that everybody's gonna like. I'm excited and ready to get this stuff in hand so I can start getting it photographed, inventoried, and ready to send out to you folks.
All right, man. I appreciate you, and we'll be back next time with the shorts draft. Is that what's next?
Yeah. All-time shorts draft coming to the High Volume Shooters pod.
That's gonna be a good one. I'm excited for that.
For some reason, I feel like it's a competition. I have like all kind of notes written down. Like one of us is gonna win and one of us is gonna lose.
But one of us is gonna win.
There's no way anybody can lose with the list that I got. I mean, it's just insane.
No doubt, man.
So, all right, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Yep.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the 19.9 podcast with HVS, the High Volume Shooters. For more information, check out the blog at 19.9.com under HVS. And while you're there, do yourself a favor and pick up some retro college shorts. Till next time.